South Sudan's main opposition party has been reacting to comments made by the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry on the crisis in that country. On the one hand, the party has welcomed John Kerry, saying a third force needs to be deployed to Juba to ensure peace. President Salva Kiir has been against that move. But on the other hand, the opposition party has criticized Kerry's decision not to push Riek Machar's return to office. Kerry made the comments in Kenya following a meeting of East African foreign ministers. Well, let's get you more now on America's stance on South Sudan. CCTV's Daniel Wrenches is joining me from Washington. Daniel, how much of a concern, though, is the ongoing crisis in South Sudan for Washington at this stage?
Very deep concern, given the level of casualties that are being reported, even here in the US Capitol on the front pages, and the continuing political fracturing, the kind of chaos that we've seen that leads some to believe that we're entering a period of possible fragmentation of the country itself. You can understand why the US, as one who played a pivotal role in the formation of this, the youngest country in the world, would be deeply concerned. Secondly, I think there is a heightening of concern amongst the wider diplomatic and journalistic community here, and certainly the aid community, following the reports that last month, when there was a siege at the hotel, that several aid workers were repeatedly raped, and when they called for help from a UN team just a mile away, those calls for help were not answered. So I think the sense of concern, the sense of anxiety is very high here in Washington, and therefore I think there will be continuing focus on the need to try to find answers.
Well, Daniel, it is well to note that pivotal role that the United States did play in South Sudan's independence, and it is also the United States that proposed that resolution on South Sudan recently adopted by the UN. Will the US be sending peacekeepers as well?
Well, you know, the political acceptability of a US conventional force on the ground in any African context is sensitive. But given all of the different players involved in this, it's very unlikely that we would see any US troops, conventional troops on the ground in South Sudan. But what the US is able to do is help to finance troops coming from other neighboring countries and also to help train them. And given the concerns of the international community in the professionalism of some of the UN forces that have been there, this is a very important moment for the international community. And I think the focus of these 4,000 troops that are planned to be going into the country is going to be very, very heightened, in particularly a great focus and emphasis on their ability to be highly professional soldiers in a very difficult environment. So yes, I think the US is going to continue to play a major role, but certainly not with US troops on the ground.
Well, Daniel, South Sudan's main opposition party has criticized a US Secretary of State about his stand on Riek Machar. What more can you tell us about that situation? What do you know?
Well, as you were reporting there, the opposition believes that John Kerry should be pushing the Sudanese government to bring Riek Machar back into the vice presidential position. And so what John Kerry has done is instead saying, well, the peace agreement says we have all options on the table, and it's not up to the United States to decide whether or not any individual leaders are left in positions. So I think that it would probably be wrong at this point to sort of say that John Kerry was trying to sort of in some way interfere in domestic politics, even by omission, even by the fact that he hasn't endorsed Riek Machar coming back. So I think, basically speaking, it wouldn't be in the American interest to get involved too much in the day-to-day politics of that, given the sensitivity of all the actors on the ground here. They want to play a constructive role. They want to get the peace process back on track. And to make any overt political statements at this point would be foolish.
All right, Daniel Ranches for us there in Washington.